As they move further distant from their father, Adam alayhi salatu wassalam, human beings began to become corrupted, either in their belief of Allah Ta'ala or in their practice of the deen and their practice of the teachings of their father, Prophet Adam alayhi salam, or in their ethical dealings with one another. As the human beings became corrupted their practice or their ethics, Allah Ta'ala would send new prophets or messengers to them in order to revive them, in order to renew them, in order to bring them back to the pure belief, the pure practice, and the pure ethics and morality as is meant for the human being. And so we find that throughout history, from the very beginning of our existence as a creation, as a species, Allah Ta'ala would send prophets and messengers to the people in order to guide them. And anytime we find people deviating in their belief, in their practice, in their ethics or morality, deviating from the true belief, the belief of Islam, the true practice, the practice of Islam, the true ethics and morality, the ethics and morality of Islam, Allah Ta'ala would send prophets and messengers to them in order to reform them, bring them back, in order to reshape them, in order to guide them. And what we find is that in the belief and ethics and morality of Islam, there is universality. The same belief, the same ethics and morality from the beginning of time until the end of time has been solidified with every prophet, with every messenger that came with that universal message. The message of La ilaha illallah. There is no deity except Allah. The message that after we die, we will be resurrected and will be accountable for our deeds and our belief on the Day of Judgment. And the ethics and morality, the universal ethics and morality were maintained throughout every prophethood. What changed was the legal realities, and that was based on time and place, based on the circumstance and the culture of the people, and based on the transition of the human civilization throughout history. What we find, as Maulana Maududi rahimahullah ta'ala, he says, with the progress and spread of commerce, industry, and arts, the intersection was established between nations. From China and Japan as far distant to the east, and the distant lands of Europe and Africa, regular routes were opened both by sea and land. So we find that at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the human civilization was at such a stage in its development that there was such intersection and connection between East and West that now the time for one final prophet, alayhi salam, universal prophet, instead of sending a prophet to each nation and land, Allah Ta'ala, because of the development of human civilization at that time, the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that we find that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was sent as the one singular prophet for all of the world. And so what Maulana Maududi he says here, many people learned the art of writing and knowledge spread. Ideas began to be communicated from one country to another, and learning and scholarship began to be exchanged. Great conquerors appeared, extended their conquests far and wide. They established vast empires and knit many different nations under one political system. Thus, nations came closer and closer to one another, and their differences became less and less. It became possible under these circumstances that one and the same faith, envisaging a comprehensive and all-embracing way of life, meeting the moral, spiritual, social, cultural, political, economic, and other needs of men, and embodying both the religious and secular elements, could be sent by Allah Ta'ala to all of mankind, rather than just to individual nations. More than 2,000 years ago, mankind had reached such a mental awareness that it seemed to be craving for a universal religion. At such a crucial stage in human civilization, when the mind of man was itself craving for a world religion, a prophet was raised in Arabia for the whole world and for all nations. The religion he was given to propagate was the same religion that was propagated throughout history, but rather it was now for all of humanity rather than just each individual nation. this was the religion of Islam, but now in the form of a complete and fully fledged system covering all aspects of life of man, from individual spirituality to social change and political establishment. He was the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam, and in him there was the embodiment and the completion and the finality of the historical lineage of prophethood. And it is in his message, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, Prophet Muhammad, and it is the message that we transmit today, that we find all the culmination of all the teachings of all the prophets of the past, as it is befitting for our time and place and for all of humanity. And because there will be no prophets or messengers after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, his message will continue to be preserved and transmitted by his community of followers. And this is the inheritance that has been taken up by the learned men and women of this deen. Al-ulama'u warathatul anbiya. The ulama, they are the inheritors of the prophetic mission. They are the inheritors of the prophets. The prophets don't give inheritance in their wealth and in their money and in their worldliness. Their inheritance is that prophetic truth, the knowledge, the ilm sent by Allah Ta'ala to all of humanity. And that prophetic truth, that knowledge, that prophetic knowledge, that true knowledge is inherited by those who seek it. And that could be any one of us. Any of us who seek the knowledge of this Islam, of this deen, of this way of life, as it has been preserved in the prophetic teachings, the hadith of the Prophet, and in the ultimate final revelation, the Quran, we inherit from that prophetic inheritance. And as we find people deviating, whether it's in our country or any other part of the world, as we find anyone deviating in their belief, in their practice, in the moral or ethical practice, or moral or ethical principles, deviating from the truth, the final truth as culminated in the Quran and the prophetic tradition, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, it is the responsibility of the community of believers, those who have inherited the prophetic mission, to return the people, to reform the people, to bring them back to the prophetic truth with regards to our pure belief, pure practice, and pure ethics and morality. It is the responsibility of the ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam to continue on and carry on that responsibility until the end of time. Why? Because there will be no more prophets, there will be no more messengers until the end of time. And so it is our responsibility to revive the teachings of this religion and to reform the practice and belief and the ethics of the people, to return them to the prophetic truth. And so we ask Allah Ta'ala to guide us and to give us the best in this world and the hereafter, and to allow us to be true to this noble responsibility of inheriting the prophetic mission of sallallahu ala nabiyina Muhammad wa barik wa sallam. Ask Allah Ta'ala so that He may give it to you. الحمد لله ثم الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله غافر الذنوب جميعا إلا شرك به، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن سيدنا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا، كما صليت على نبينا إبراهيم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات والمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات، إنك سميع مجيب الدعوات. اللهم يسر أمورنا، اللهم يسر أمورنا، وألف بين قلوبنا، وألف بين قلوب أهلنا وعائلتنا يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم اغفر لنا وارحمنا وأنت خير الراحمين. عباد الله يرحمكم الله، إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون وأقيموا الصلاة. Inshallah, please, as we have a more constricted space, pray on the passenger side of your vehicle. So everyone, please pray on the passenger side of your vehicle. Please follow the instructions from the volunteers as they guide you on the parking lot. So 2 or 3 rows that are closest to the building, they will be making their way out first. Holding on right onto Summit, so that we can facilitate traffic. Okay. inshallah. And then those of you who are in the further parts or on the south side of the building, inshallah, you can make your way to the south side, inshallah. So please follow the volunteers, please be safe, and please turn right onto Summit, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah, we are very, very, very hopeful that this, barring any setbacks, inshallah, we're hoping to open for Salah, daily prayers in the month of Ramadan, and likely Taraweeh as well, inshallah, which will be a first come, first served registration process. So, inshallah ta'ala, please continue to contribute to our center so we can continue with all our efforts, our dawah efforts, our educational efforts, our youth efforts, and our community building efforts. Chicago.org. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah. Praise the Lord.
Turn him around. You're done. You're done. It's done. Not a debit? Or someone's phone is on it.